An apple a day keeps the doctor away, but a glass of OJ keeps the adversary at bay. Here's Odd Job. Hey, it's time for a glass of OJ, and I'm Odd Job. So, been thinking a lot lately about being a generalist. And speaking of generalists, you may know or be familiar with a person by the name of Adam Savage. Adam Savage from the Mythbusters. Adam has a channel on YouTube called Tested. And on it, Adam does a lot of things. He does one-day builds. He does entire projects where it's not just a one-day build. He does, multi-video projects, but a lot of times he'll do one-day builds. A lot of times it's for some cosplay thing. Like one time he wanted to do, what was it? One time he built his own blaster, or at least custom blaster parts for Han Solo from Star Wars. And so he's doing a lot of steel milling. One of his one-day builds was building a shafter, the butt to a rifle. That from a sci-fi or a gaming rifle that was out there. I don't know if it was. I think it was Mass Effect. Was what the game was. He was going to be cosplaying. Sometimes it's just him asking questions or showing off a new tool or showing off something else that he does. Like sometimes he'll say hey, here's my favorite tools, and he'll show off favorite tools. So he does questions, and honestly, kind of envious that he gets so many questions that he could just make videos about those questions that he thinks his audience would find it interesting for him to answer. I would love to have so many questions that I could just sit down, have a list of 10 questions in front of me, click on the video, answer just one question. And sometimes it's a 5-minute video. Sometimes it's a half-hour long video. Kind of like glass of OJ. Sometimes my glass of OJ is only 5 minutes long. Sometimes it's longer. It's going to be a little longer today, but not ridiculous. So what he did is he answered a question from an audience member one time, and what he ended up saying was very interesting to me. And it was something I really needed to hear as a generalist. The question was, do you loathe or regret being a generalist? In other words, do you regret not picking a specialty or not picking a specialization in what you do as a maker and stick to that one thing? I know some people who know a lot of musical instruments, and they can play fairly well on each of them. And I know some people who can play one instrument, and they have practiced their entire life on that one instrument, and they spend a lot of time on it. The difference between that person who has practiced their entire life on that one instrument and the other person who knows a lot of instruments being able to play that same instrument, hands down, the person who has played it their entire life, usually. Sometimes people just have this innate talent. They could just sit down and, just do something amazing. And you're like, how do you know how to do this? I don't know. It felt right. There's those people. But generally, for the person who has spent their entire life, they're going to be they can do far many greater things. They know techniques. They have lessons learned. They know how to hide things. They know how to make it. They know all sorts of things how to do that. The person who kind of knows guitar and flute and clarinet and piano and drums and guitar and electric guitar and violin, like those people, and cello, and those people, they know how to play on those things, but not as well as someone who spent their entire life on one thing. They're still good. They're just not nearly as good as this other. And he kind of goes into that, and he says, no, really, I don't. He's like, I am a generalist. And he says, let me really say what that means is that, for the most part, I know how to kind of work with wood. I know in his craft, making, He knows how to work with wood fairly well. He knows how to work with electronics somewhat. In fact, he worked on the electronics for R2-D2 in the prequels for Star Wars. That's pretty cool that you worked on the electronics for that. That's awesome. He knows how to, fabricate various things using various methods. He's had to learn how to upholster. He's had to learn how to sew. He's had to learn all these things. But is he a master seamster? No. Is he a master upholsterer? No. Not even close. Is he a master woodworker? No. No, he's not. He's not. He knows how to sand really well, chisel, plane. He knows how to use all those like little bits and tips and tools. But does he know like how to intricately put together like this joint that works in a way? Nope. He doesn't. He doesn't know how to do that. Machine milling. Does he know how to do, machine metalworking? Does he know how to do... He knows how to do quite a few things. But a lot of it's trial and error as he's making the thing. And he's learning a lot of lessons as he's making a thing. So... But what he says is every time he learns something, it's like an extra arrow in his quiver. He's like, as a generalist, I get to take this arrow out of this quiver and this arrow over here and put it in my quiver. And now, anytime he's on a completely, seemingly unrelated project, and we now need to know how to upholster something and make it look decent. He's like, aha, I have done that. I shall do this. And even though he didn't know he'd have to use it, he's now using the upholstery skill to do that one thing. Is he a master upholsterer? No, but he didn't need to be for that. He just needed to know enough how to hide his sins. He calls that hiding his sins, where he makes one mistake or a couple and goes like, and he knows how to like tuck and hide them. I love it. Knowing how to hide your sins. Isn't that coding? Take a glass of OJ if you've had to hide your sins configuring or coding something. So, that got me thinking about infosec and how many domains in infosec there really are. And I think almost every one of us can agree that we're not cryptography specialists. We may know and understand on a general level, especially if we've done the CISSP, we should know various parts of cryptography, the lingo, what initialization vectors do. There's a lot of things that we need to know. Salts and hashes and all that good stuff. We need to learn and we need to know how that is done. But do we really know the math under there? I don't. I can't tell you the math for, RSA, or I can't tell you the math for AES. I can't tell you the math for generating keys in PKI. I can't tell you the math. I don't know the math. And even if I saw the equation and could kind of explain what's going on, I wouldn't be able to apply it very well or code or program it very well. And I wouldn't be able to derive it from some other like cryptographic concept. Specialists can do that though. Mathematicians can do that really well. I can't. But that's an arrow in your quiver if you know even how to do one of those things, isn't it? I'm not even a pen tester. I call myself a hacker, and I haven't really, hacked anything. Like, what's your hack? Where's your CVE? Where's this? Where's that? I have not tested many pens at all. I haven't tested any pens at all. And I feel a lot of anxiety about not knowing that and not knowing how to reverse engineer malware and not knowing, like, I know the idea of how to do it, but actually going and doing it, actually opening up OllyDB, actually opening up IDA Pro and running and discovering things. Not really. Which, by the way, if you want to learn reverse engineering, Malware Unicorn does have a great course. And that's where I learned anything I know about it. I learned from her course. So you should go take a look. She's probably got Ghidra in there now. So very cool stuff. I need to learn Ghidra, another arrow in my quiver. And so I'm upset that I don't know all those things. But I also don't know a lot of things about like risk management. I don't know a lot of things about just a lot of other things going on. I just don't know. And it bothers me. I feel like, do I know enough in infosec to call myself a professional? Or, I'm an expert in infosec. What does that even mean? If you're an expert in infosec, it doesn't mean you have the right to talk about cloud security necessarily. If you're an expert in infosec, it doesn't necessarily mean you have the right to talk about pen testing, I guess. That's in my mind, right? But something Adam said of just this idea of like, oh, I'm just taking from this quiver. I actually spent the money on OSCP to do the labs and to get the courseware. I have the book in this closet back here because it's kind of one of those floppy books that, because I printed it out and had it bound at like UPS. So it's back there. And as I started reading through it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn in here. Too many arrows in my quiver. And I felt this thing that I had to get all of this learned by like 90 days to be good, to just start to get good. And it was a terrible, it would gnaw at me when I go to bed that you didn't even open the book. But once Adam Savage actually talked about this thing he did was an arrow in his quiver, now I'm thinking, oh, instead of viewing this as like a whole thing that I've got to learn, let's open to the chapter on buffer overflows. And let's do a buffer overflow. And let's see if you can kind of create your own from then. Write down some notes on tips and hints for yourself in the future on how to do this if you have to do this in the future. See if you can, code it using Python, or if you can code it using something else, Ruby. What can you do with it? And then close the book and put it away. I learned the thing I wanted to learn. I now have an arrow. Look at it. It's a beautiful arrow. It's got these lovely plumage on the shaft there at the end. And you got this nice little arrowhead. And yeah, it's going in there. It's going in the quiver. He said, Adam Savage ended up sharing a wonderful phrase. And this is your glass of OJ. It all distills down to one phrase. A generalist is often called a jack of all trades and a master of none. But that is not where that phrase, that saying, should end. It should really go, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but is often better than a master of one. Take a drink of OJ, and think about that for a second. The amount of people in infosec, or the number, or the people in infosec rather, who are really good at one thing, they've just got that one trick pony. And we all know, we know at least one person on infosec Twitter who's a one trick pony. That's the only thing they know how to do. And it's great they know how to do it, and fantastic they know how to do it. Congratulations to you. You learned a specialty. And that's the one thing they know how to do. But they know near nothing about everything else in infosec. And again, this is fine. I'm not here to disparage nor act like specialists, don't have a place. This isn't like, where someone feels bad and now all of a sudden they have to make other people feel bad to make themselves feel better. This is not one of those things. I'm just saying that this is how this pans out a lot. Someone who specializes and spends all their time in one thing usually doesn't know what they're doing in other places. A piano player who only plays piano, they've learned a lot that actually translates to guitar or violin or the clarinet or accordion. They've learned a lot that plays with with accordion. They've got this keyboard over here. Then they got these buttons, and then they have this this bellows that they have to keep working with, right? So there's extra skills. Percussion. They've learned some things about rhythm, but do they really know how to play a drum? You may understand now chords, and you may understand arpeggios, and you may understand the music theory behind chord progressions. You need to know the same thing. You need to know those skills, chord progressions, arpeggios, and chords themselves. And you need to know that kind of stuff. You need to know your scales. You need to know that stuff to play guitar fairly well, if you want to play it fairly well at all. I'm not a very good Not a very good player on the guitar. I'm not even a very good player on the piano because my piano's in the living room over there. My guitars are back in the guest bedroom. If anybody wants to come take my gas, my cat will show you. Um, yeah. So here's all these things where you have all these instruments, and the person who's specialized in that one instrument, if they want to go and then play guitar and be like, oh yeah, it's easy to play guitar just because it's easy to play piano. No, it's not. It's a completely different thing. I will tell you. When I put my fingers on a keyboard, it feels completely different than when I put my fingers on a guitar or a violin or a clarinet. And even though you could speak a little bit of a common language, like there's common vocabulary and there's common language between you because you have to figure out how to describe music to each other. If you ever do, as a piano player, put your hands on a guitar and just try to learn how to play it for just a bit, you gain a completely different appreciation for it. A conductor, many times, has to be that jack of all trades. They should know a little bit on how to play drums. They should know a little bit on how to play clarinet. They should know how to play a little bit of violin. They should know how to play a little bit of everything. They should probably know piano fairly well, because a lot of times conductors, if they want to like show someone how like something's supposed to sound or whatever, they'll use it on piano, or if they have a score at home, they'll use a piano to like play it at home so that they kind of understand, okay, this is what it should sound like apart from recordings they may hear. Like they want to play all this themselves. So yes. Anyway, so think about that. Think about that the next time you're going out there, is that, you know, specialists many times when they go, you want a specific task done, you go get a specialist, unless you have that arrow in your quiver. But a lot of times, you know, if you're wanting your pen test or advanced adversary simulation done, don't get a generalist. Get someone who's actually really, really, really good at pen testing. They're going to do an advanced adversary simulation very well. But if you're needing someone on your team to run a program, you probably just need a generalist. Someone who's maybe done it a little bit before, done quite a few things in that area before, but they know a lot of other things about other domains of infosec. They know how to pull it together. That's the kind of people you hire for management positions or other higher level positions. Those are the types of people you hire. You hire the generalists for those. You may take someone from a specialist and make them into a generalist by having them learn a lot of other things, and then now they can become a generalist. Everyone I know how to install firewalls. I know how to install endpoint software and endpoint security products. Like those are the things I grew up in infosec. Those are the things I grew up knowing how to do really well. So I can claim that that's my thing. I know how to do that. Apart from that, though, no. APIs, cloud security, a lot of other things, which, by the way, I'm actually going to try to get the Azure and AWS foundations or practitioner certs, and also their specialties in security. So something I'm going to work on. And you should too, because the training is free actually right now. So yeah, think about that. Another arrow in your quiver, probably a few arrows, but another arrow in your quiver. You understand at least get the practitioner level, because then that's an arrow in your quiver. You understand generally how the cloud works. It's a generalist cert. It really is. It's that entry level. Here's how it all works up here. And it'll help you immensely. Kubernetes too, like learn Kubernetes stuff. I need to learn that kind of stuff. I need to learn containers. I've built some Docker containers before, or at least put them in, but how do they work? How do you build them? Like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. So I need to learn more about that. How do you manage them? I don't know. I need to learn how that works. So yeah, well, this video's run on long enough. And that was all I had to say today. So feel good about being a generalist, because it means you're a jack of all trades, a master of none, but often better than a master of one. That's a great thing to celebrate. Look at problems not with anxiety of like you have to learn everything there is about that entire thing, about that entire domain that's a part of. Don't have to do that. You just learn the one thing you want to learn how to do. Just learn that one thing. Every time I look at like hack the box write-ups, they're doing, so a lot of times they involve doing something that, you know, you would think like, oh my God, I don't know reverse engineering, therefore I can't do this. No, look at the write-up. If you don't know how to do this thing, look at the write-up. You'll have learned one skill. One skill. And then you might even learn to go like, oh, but I know I could do this and this and this. And now you know how to use that one skill and use it in a few different ways. You may use that arrow for a few different situations. It's really good. That's my glass of OJ today. Don't despair being a generalist. Celebrate it if you are. If you want to be a specialist and you are a specialist, fantastic. Keep being a specialist. Have a little love for generalists, though, and be happy to educate them and train, teach them little things from time to time. But don't be despair being a specialist either. It's all good. We need everybody. We need the specialists. We need the generalists. But if you are a generalist, don't despair. You could always become a specialist. Pick one thing and just learn that one thing. It's a lot of dedication, but like Adam Savage, I've not really felt the need to learn one thing and learn it I want to do everything. I want to play all the instruments. I want to do a little bit on I want to know how to play a little ditty on everything. little jam on everything. That's what I want to learn how to do. So, yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none, but often better than a master of one. That's your glass of OJ for today. See you next time.